Hi, this is Monica from Run, Eat, Repeat, and today I'm reviewing It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I just finished the book this morning on a run, and I immediately was like, let's get the book club together, let's talk about this emergency session, and then I remembered I don't have a book club. So I'm chatting about it with you. There will 1,000% be spoilers, and I haven't listened to a fiction book in a while that I thought, thumbs up, I'm a fan of. I went through a phase of listening to a lot of nonfiction, memoirs, biographies that were just really powerful, dealt with some very serious stuff, and this one does as well. I have a very large golden retriever that is sleeping under the desk and started to snore, but this is real life, right? And trigger warning, the book deals with topics related to domestic violence and abuse. So if that is something that you are sensitive to, you might want to avoid this book or do some more research before you continue to listen to the review or read the book. I listen to most books on Audible while I'm multitasking. I think that does impact my experience of a book, because as soon as I was done, again, I wanted to talk about it. I went to look up some podcasts that are book club podcasts that review or recap a book. I found one about this book, which is wild because there are tons of YouTube reviews. A lot of the reviews mentioned crying, even multiple times during the book. That was not my experience at all with it. So I don't know. I think that listening to a book is a very, I want to say sensual, but I think that's the wrong word. It's a very immersive experience. The main character is Lily. The entire book is told from her point of view. She is the narrator, and throughout the story, we meet her when she's in her early 20s, living in Boston, but we have these flashbacks where she's kind of reading her journal, but it's really letters she wrote to Ellen DeGeneres talking about her life that she never sent. And that's how we kind of get more context of who she is, where she comes from, the experiences that have impacted her. She's an only child, and her dad is very physically abusive to her mom. And it's just something that seems like it's gotten worse and worse over the course of her life. She talks about a boyfriend that she had in high school that actually is a homeless guy named Atlas that was living in an abandoned house nearby. They start seeing each other, but then he has to go and stay with his uncle in Boston. He can't just stay in this abandoned house forever. I think the letters to Ellen are a great way to kind of incorporate a diary, journal situation in the novel, because it's been done so much. There was a book that I just recently, Sometimes I Lie, I think, that has these journal entries too. So because I had just listened to that book, I was like, ugh, if it would have been a straight up diary, I think I wouldn't have been so excited or open to it. She meets a guy that is a neurosurgeon from the very start of the book, and they have a connection, but he's like, I only do one night stands. She considers it, but is like, I really shouldn't. She runs into him again. They start dating. It seems like fairly quickly he gets violent with her. He hits her, totally knocks her down in the kitchen. They do this, not shotgun, but dramatic, let's go to Vegas and get married situation. After he said, I only want one night stands, he suddenly agrees to date her and get married within months. They go to Vegas, they get married. Shortly thereafter, he pushes her down the stairs. And this is a lot of spoilers. He tells her that he accidentally shot his little brother when they were kids. He didn't know it was a real gun, it was completely an accident. But since then, he gets very angry and he blacks out. Okay. He also says that he's been in therapy since he was 6. Like, that's how young he was when this happened, right? It's a serious, heartbreaking thing, for sure. But no, you haven't been in therapy since you were 6 and actually doing the work if you didn't even tell her after the first time you were physically violent with her. Didn't say it then. Then you run off to Vegas and get married. So you didn't say it. You didn't have this conversation before you got married. Like, that's not true. Or it might be true, but you're phoning it in. You're not actually doing the work, because you should have an anger management emergency plan. If this is the situation, you should speak openly with someone that you were having this intimate of a relationship with. Like, I just was very annoyed with that and so distracted. And maybe that's just an indicator of me going to a lot of therapy and just realizing, like, no, this is such a serious thing. After all this time, you're claiming that you have done the work to actually work on this, and you haven't acknowledged it until you push her downstairs and you're married. No, he's a doctor. He is capable of obviously studying and self-discipline and showing up and being on time and being accountable. Like, he has to do all these things for a job. So it's odd that you can do that homework, but if you were actually in therapy, you're not doing that homework. I was really scared that this was going to turn into her just repeating the pattern that she grew up with. And then I remembered the title, It Ends With Us. The title is such a spoiler because you know it's gonna end. They get in another fight where he full on like attacks her and like headbutts her, splits her forehead open, needs stitches, like headbutts her aggressively as they're in bed and he's about to try and rape her. She has to go to the hospital that night. She finds out she's pregnant. My first thought was she shouldn't keep the baby because I wouldn't let that person watch my dog. He is not, like, if he gets angry, if my dog were to do something, he would push him down flights of stairs or headbutt him. I'm sorry to this man. I do not know this man, and I do not trust this man, and I would not trust this man with my dog, let alone child. They kind of just stay cordial until she has the baby. They decide, okay, we're not going to be together. The epilogue is she runs in to her high school boyfriend again, and they're like, okay, let's give this a try, which is a nice way to end it. The entire time I was kind of scared and cringing that she wasn't going to end it, or she was just kind of going to get saved by her high school boyfriend. It was like this knight in shining armor, and that's not what happened. She was able to make the choice on her own to say it ends with us, and then later, almost a year later, she runs into her high school boyfriend, and I just appreciate that. I feel like, yes, let us get some more empowering, positive messages and examples. At the end of the book, there's an author's note where she shares that this book is loosely based on a personal experience of hers. She remembers it's actually her first memory. Her dad picking up a TV and throwing it at her mom. It knocked down her mom. She also shared that the first time in the book when Ryle hits Lily is based on the first time that her dad hit her mom. It changed the entire way I saw this book. I already liked it. It just made it that much more real. Overall, I think it is a good listen. I think it's good for running, walking, eating, repeating, because it was easy for me to follow the story. Sometimes if a book is complex, if there are a ton of characters to follow, if it's like a lot of different side stories going on, I'll have to stop and rewind it every so often. If I feel like I'm zoning out, if I'm on a run or something, didn't have to do this. I was able to really just like keep it going, listen to the story. And I wanted to talk about it immediately after I was just share my thoughts with my virtual book club, which is you. But if you have a suggestion for the next book that I listen to, let me know in the comments and make sure that you like and subscribe.